Hi everyone, it's Emily, and I'm back again with another episode of the 21 and Sensory podcast. And this time I have the lovely Abby on as a special guest. I first heard Abby on the 1800 Seconds in Autism podcast. So that's on BBC Sounds app, and also you can listen to it online on the BBC website. And she was like a phone-in guest on one of the episodes with Jamie and Robin. And we sort of contacted each other on Instagram. So that's how we met. And I thought it'd be really nice to chat to Abby and just talk about how she's doing at the moment with all kind of things pandemic-wise, and also to talk about her diagnosis as well. So, Abby, do you want to say hello and a little bit of an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm 16. I was diagnosed when I was about 13 or 14, I can't actually remember. It wasn't really my decision to go and get diagnosed, to be honest. It was kind of my mum when she realised that we later discovered these, but they were my meltdowns at home. And my mum was like thinking, what can she do to help? And then we went and got diagnosed, and yeah, that's how it happened.
Okay, and how sort of after the diagnosis, did you kind of feel positively about it, or did you kind of feel a bit kind of worried about it as a diagnosis, or did it like help?
This might sound weird, but it kind of felt like I was lost.
Mm-hmm.
No one had really spoken to me about autism before, so I didn't really know what it was. And then I kind of felt alone, and like no one else understood what was going on.
Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely a normal like feeling, and especially being 13, you're quite young, and I imagine did you know anybody else who was autistic?
I don't think I did actually.
Okay, so that must have been quite difficult. Do you mind me asking, did you go to or do you still go to a mainstream secondary school?
Yeah, I was always mainstream.
Mm-hmm. And how have you found that?
It was quite hard because sometimes I felt like I didn't fit in, but then having the diagnosis made me understand how I was and why I thought in a different way to everyone else.
Mm-hmm. That must be difficult because secondary school is a really difficult time anyway in anyone's life, and to know that you're autistic and you've still got to go into a very noisy environment and try and learn in a very set way, that must be quite difficult.
Yeah, I think the main struggle, at my school was probably homework. I was
Mm-hmm.
like really disorganized, and I kept getting late homework at school. I think that was also one of the triggers that made us want to go and get me diagnosed.
Mm-hmm. And like since being diagnosed, have your secondary school been like any more supportive or like helpful at all?
Not particularly, but it doesn't help that I've just moved to a new sixth form.
Okay.
Now we're doing it online, which isn't the best.
Do you find it easier or harder online?
Well, in a way, it's easier because we can just get up later and you don't have to get dressed and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's also harder because then you're having to take turns online and you can't read their like facial expressions,
Mm-hmm.
which can be quite hard sometimes. I quite like being at school just because of like the rigidity of the timetable, and
Mm.
I know where I'm going and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the only good thing I think.
So do you feel that that's kind of lacking with online learning? Have you got like less of a routine?
Well, I've had to come up with my own routine once I was doing some more online school, but at the start it was definitely harder.
I know your secondary school is a mainstream school, but it doesn't sound like they're particularly kind of on board with kind of giving you some helpful accommodations and things like that, which is a bit of a shame. I guess obviously you've moved to a different sixth form. Are you studying A-levels at the moment?
Yeah, I'm doing one BTEC and two ALevels.
Okay. And what are you studying?
Biology and psychology and a BTEC in health and social care.
Oh, okay. So all the ologies and like health-based stuff.
Yeah, mainly because I want to go into paediatric nursing, so I thought that might be helpful.
Mm-hmm. I think those are probably the best ones to do for that.
Yeah.
So do you think you want to do like do you think you want to go to university, or would you like a different like sort of access course into nursing?
I think I want to go to university, but I don't want to go too far away from home,
Mm-hmm.
just because like all the uncertainty and stuff like that. But I think going to university would be first off the easier route into nursing,
Mm.
and also just the more common route that most people know.
Yeah, that does make sense. And I mean, I only did graphic design, but I studied half an hour away from my family home. So I just like commuted back and forth, which was fine. And I think you can have just as good like a uni experience, not living on campus. And obviously during the pandemic, a lot of uni students aren't living on campus anyway. So I think that it's good that you know that you'll probably want to kind of study nearer to home, because that was something I knew like from the start, and at least you can kind of, I don't know, whittle down your choices a bit of universities that way.
Yeah, I mean, we have kind of looked at a couple of open days for universities, but we're not that far ahead, so I've still got some time to think about it.
Are you in your first year at sixth form?
Yeah, year 12.
Year 12. Okay, yeah, you got a bit of time. That's good.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, because they've just kind of said that there aren't any A-levels this year or something? Or I guess the second year is when you take your exams now, isn't it?
Yeah, although the health and social care, the part one of the exam is actually this Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So is that still happening?
As far as we're aware, yes. I don't want it to happen though, but then part two of the exam was also supposed to be happening in the summer, but because now that's just been cancelled, we're not entirely sure what we're going to go back to when we go back to school.
Yeah, and surely if you've done part one of an exam, you need to do the other bit.
Yeah, it's like 2 units kind of linked
Yeah.
with each other.
Oh, that's the thing at the moment. I hate like all the uncertainty, and it's, even worse if you're at school and you're, halfway through your exams or halfway through studying an A-level or a degree or something like that. So I appreciate that all this change is not helpful at all. And on top of that, being autistic, it's like even more like amplified and overwhelming.
Yeah, because I think that some people at school, like my friends and teachers, are trying to go like, everyone is finding it hard, it's not just you.
Mm.
But in some ways, that's not particularly helpful,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that everyone else is finding it hard, but then it's like doubled harder for me.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I appreciate that, like, the pandemic's really difficult for everyone in terms of, like, mental health and, hidden disabilities and stuff like that. But like you say, it's almost like another level if you're autistic or neurodiverse, because it's just so much more to process and so much more to get overwhelmed by. But it sounds like you're doing the very best that you can, and the fact that you're making like routines for yourself, that's really good.
Yeah.
So how are you spending your free time? Do you have any like special interests?
Just playing with my dog count.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's certainly one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing some colouring lately. That's about it.
Fair enough. Those are two pretty good interests to have. And I find, because I have a dog as well, having a dog gets you out the house. Like, you have to kind of have a routine of walking and just getting out with the dog.
Yeah, although the middle of winter doesn't really help with walking the dog.
No, that's true. And they always come back really muddy. What sort of dog do you have?
He's a Cavachon.
Oh, very nice. I have a beagle, and he's mainly white, but he's got like different like tricolour spots, but he always seems to get so muddy.
Although we do take my dog to the park sometimes, but he seems to have a habit of bringing back random balls that he finds.
That is an excellent skill.
If we just find a random ball in the park, he'll just pick it up and bring it home.
Oh, I like that. So do you have like any other kind of like hobbies? Were you into anything that like has been like sort of cancelled, like any sort of like sport or like after school stuff or anything like that?
I don't think so, although I was going to be a mentor to a younger autistic person in my new sixth form. Then that got cancelled, so I don't know if we're going to be meeting each other, but from what I hear, this person really wants to meet me.
Oh, that's such a nice idea. So is it another student at the sixth form?
Yeah, but this person's in year 8.
Oh, okay. So it's still in the school. I get you. Oh, that's such a good idea. I would have loved that. Like just to have, I don't know, just a little partner in crime, like within the same school. That's such a good idea.
I think the reason that we wanted me to become a mentor to this person was because when I was younger, when I was like newly diagnosed, my mum asked if there was an older diagnosed person in the school, and we were told no. But then after a while, it seems that there was another person. They didn't seem to tell us. But then I was being mentored by somebody else, so I kind of know what it's like to be on the other end, which might help me relate to this person.
Yeah, and just to have someone older to look up to, and you know, the fact that they're in year 8 and they've got, you know, however many years ahead of them before sixth form, at least you can kind of give them a bit of an insight of like, you know, what it's like, and then, you know, sort of tell them at sixth form they can choose the subjects that they actually really enjoy rather than all the academic ones.
I not have to do maths or English, which are really hard, I find.
How did you find, like, did you like sit your GCSE exams? Did you find that quite difficult?
They were cancelled.
They were cancelled. Okay, so you haven't sat your GCSEs either. Okay, I was just wondering.
I did half a GCSE in like year 10, I want to say, but then all the others got cancelled.
Okay.
So this is the proper formal exam that I've ever done.
Okay, wow. Oh, it's such a weird setup, isn't it?
Yeah, so our year's been hit twice.
Yeah, that's really unlucky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know if you would have got like extra time in an exam situation?
I know that I get extra time and sensory breaks in the exams, and I can leave the room and like walk around for a bit. Although that took a while for the school to understand what we actually meant by a sensory break.
Right.
Because I didn't really understand, but then we had to explain. But I know that I would get extra time and I am going to get extra time in these ALevels.
So I remember when I was at school, I had, I think they call them like EHCPs now, but I had an IEP, which was like an individual educational plan. And it meant because of my processing difficulties, I got extra time. I've just explained to the listeners in case they haven't heard of this. So I used to get 20% extra time in exams, and kind of depending on your sort of level. So like you said, you get sensory breaks and you can leave the room, all the way up to, you know, kind of being able to use the toilet or having a scribe, so someone to write for you. There's loads of different like accommodations you can have in exams in the UK. Exams are difficult and always a bit scary on the day, but it's a shame that you haven't been able to like make use of those accommodations. But at university, you might be able to.
Hopefully.
So you might be taking an exam this week, but you're not sure.
It's looking like it is going to go ahead, but there's only 4 of us in the class, but none of us really want it to happen. We just kind of can't bother to go and do it.
Do you have to go into school for that?
Yeah, although I've actually been shown the room that it's supposedly going ahead in, so I know like where I'm going and everything, but it's just still the uncertainty of, first off, is it going ahead or not?
It's all a bit confusing, isn't it? And just to explain, for listeners, the UK is in like a total lockdown at the moment. So before we were in like tiers, like 1 to 4. So 4 being like the most kind of lockdown, but now we're in a national like lockdown. So I think every school is doing it differently at the moment, and universities and stuff like that. So like you say, it's all a bit up in the air, like education wise. And I think they announced that GCSEs and ALevels are like exams are going to be kind of cancelled, but you're going to have like teacher assessments, I think was what I saw on the news. But it's all a bit confusing.
Yeah, I think they're centre assessed grades or some other thing. I don't really know what our grades are going to be put off of, but.
And it's not like, you know, obviously universities are going to want to take on new students, you know, in September. So it's not, you know, it's not like they can miss a year of people not taking exams. So it's all a bit confusing.
Yeah.
I do feel for you because nothing is certain, and people thought this year was going to be a bit more normal, and it might be in other countries. I'm not actually that sure, but in the UK, it seems a bit the same. We're in a 6-week lockdown now, so until the middle of February. So hopefully that will help.
I've not actually been listening to the news because it's just going to make me really annoyed and scared by it all.
I get like notifications on my phone, but I don't watch it on the TV. It's too like distressing.
Yeah, my parents just watch it on the TV and listen to it on the radio. I just try and ignore it.
Me too, because otherwise you get too invested in it and you just think, oh, people are doing things all wrong and you can't really do anything to change it. And it just is overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm really interested to know did you email in to the 1800 Seconds on Autism podcast?
Yeah. I emailed quite a few times and got a couple of responses from them. And then the producer just kind of invited me on.
Okay, that's nice. She's really nice, isn't she?
Yeah.
And how did you find talking to Jamie and Robin? You came across really well.
Did I? Thank you.
Yeah, you did.
I was quite nervous. Like that was the first podcast I'd ever done. But also because I'd listened to so many of the episodes, I kind of knew what they were doing and knew the sort of structure of their episodes. So I kind of had some sort of familiarity, which was quite a nice feeling.
That's good. Like you already knew the format of it, so you knew kind of what to expect.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, no, you definitely came across well, and it was interesting to hear. Like Robin and Jamie tend to speak to slightly older people, and it's actually quite interesting to hear someone who's still like in education and like during the pandemic as well, and how you're like managing it all. Are you like a fidget toy kind of person? Do you tend to like use fidget toys or like take them into school with you or anything, or not really?
Yeah, I think I've only got about 3, but only one of them comes into school with me.
And what one do you take in?
I just bring my fidget cube with me.
Nice.
Mainly because it's the only one that school allow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't like me to bring many in.
See, that's difficult because I always think, like, I understand that teachers think they're distracting, and I get that, but like, you are 16, like, you're responsible. It's not like you're, maybe 6 or 7 years old in a primary school and taking them in, and other people are like stealing them off you. Like, I'd like to think that you'd be responsible with them and not, chuck them around the classroom or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't go through them with another student or a teacher or anything. It just sits in my pocket all the time. But then sometimes I just kind of fiddle with a pen instead. Because teachers haven't really approved of the fidget cube, but I'm still going ahead with it because they've not told me off yet.
I think that's fair enough. I also think like sometimes if you're listening to a teacher, like if your hands are distracted, you like listen better. I don't know if you get that.
Yeah, I tend to zone out a lot in school, but I zone out even if I've got something in my hands as well.
I definitely think like a fidget toy, like it's a pretty subtle thing and it's not ridiculously noisy unless you're like clicking it a lot, but I don't imagine you are. But that's good that you have it in your pocket, like just in case. I always like try and carry one if I've got like my coat on.
Yeah, although because we have to have a blazer for school, so it comes with pockets, so I can just use that all the time.
Oh, that's good. I used to always like putting like stuff inside, like because I don't know if your blazers have like pockets inside them as well as outside.
No, they don't. They use them.
Mine used to have like inside pockets where you could like have like sweets and stuff.
Yeah, when I was at my other secondary school, they used it because it was like a school uniform blazer. But now, because it's sixth form, you kind of just wear your own suits, which is kind of good and kind of bad.
See, that's kind of what I used to like about school uniform, is that it is a uniform. Everyone looks the same. Whereas the sixth form I went to, it was all in your own clothes. But like, even like you say, if you're going in your own like suits and stuff like that, everyone looks a bit different. Like, do you find like there's any like pressure there?
Most of the people that I tend to wear like really short skirts, but then I'm not comfortable to do that at all, so I just go in trousers. But it's quite rare to find someone in trousers because, well, I guess that kind of gives pressure to wear a skirt as well.
It's really interesting you saying about trousers because I sort of started to wear a skirt in year like 7 and 8 when you start secondary school, but then I decided as well, I was like, why am I wearing a skirt? I prefer trousers. But then everyone kind of singles you out as the girl that wears trousers, and you're like, but they're comfortable.
In the secondary school, you could have trousers, but they just didn't fit me well. Then I had to survive from like year 7 to year 11 with a skirt, and that was not fun.
They're just, I don't know, it's not, a skirt isn't something I would wear like day to day usually. So I get what you mean. It's just, if you're not comfortable in it, but you don't really have a choice until you get to a certain age, then that does suck.
It's lucky that I can now wear trousers. That's quite, it just makes me feel more comfortable. I feel like I can learn better. If that makes sense.
Exactly. If you're more comfortable, then, you know, your brain isn't thinking about like an annoying skirt or an annoying label or something like that.
And also, having your own clothes, you can cut the labels out your own clothes and school won't mind.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. So are like all your friends at sixth form like aware of your autism? Is it something you've told them about?
I've only told one person who's like my closest friend who I made on the first day. And then there was another person who I now call my friend, but I've not told them yet. I'm half debating it. I'm half debating whether I should. But then I don't know how this person will react. Because when I told the first person, they were just fine and they didn't mind. But it's just the anxiety of what will they say? How do I explain it to them?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, it's great that your first friend was like kind of okay with it and chill with it, but I get what you mean. Like for me being diagnosed a bit later in life, and even, you know, you being diagnosed at 13 is a bit later in life. It's scary, isn't it? Because you don't want people's opinion to change on you.
Yeah, which is why when I first told people, I think even at my first secondary school, I think I actually wrote a script of what I was going to say. And that just kind of made me feel more relaxed because I knew what I was going to say. And I knew that what I would say would explain it because I'd already sat down and taken the time to think about what I was going to write.
That's a really good idea to script it, because I'm a bit like that. I like to have something to like look at to go off. Otherwise, the words won't come into my head.
Yeah, I don't think when I told them, I don't think I actually did use the script, but it's just the fact of having it there makes you feel more comfortable.
No, that's a good idea. And do you think sort of later on in life you would still kind of be quite open about your diagnosis? Like, say, if you went to uni or you had a job?
I think I'd only be open with them if I'd been with them for a while and I classed them as a friend. Because if it's just someone I've met for the first time and they're going to never meet me again, I don't see any point in telling them.
It's a tricky one. I'm still like, I'm just like you. I debate over whether to tell certain people in my life. So certain friends, certain like people at work who I think, oh, it'd be really helpful if they knew because they'd stop doing this thing, or but you just don't know. I think it's something that, I don't know, after being diagnosed, you don't really hear that much about. But yeah, it's definitely a tricky thing. And I was gonna ask you just randomly, do you go to any like autism support groups at all?
No, I don't. Although my mum is kind of involved in like one of those Facebook groups, and the mums on there seem to know me, and they have Zoom calls like all the time. So I just go and sit in on the call.
Okay.
But no, I don't really.
That's fair enough. I've been like looking at some, like, because I think the National Autistic Society do like some locally, like in the UK in some like counties. It's a bit sort of hit and miss, but they do like ones for like teens and ones for like just women or just men. So I'm always interested to hear if other people have ever gone to them.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful if I do, but then I kind of am fine by myself and I don't need to be with someone else to be like a group.
That's fair enough. I think like for me, I just want to like, I know autistic people online, like such as you and such as other people through Instagram, but I think I'd love to know more autistic people like in real life.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'll come across them more in real life when the pandemic's over, maybe.
Yeah, that could be a while.
It could be. I'll stick to online friends for now. So let's wrap this up. Do you have any like social media that people could go and follow you on, or anything like that you want to mention?
I got my Instagram, but that's about it. I don't mind. I don't actually know what it is off the top of my head.
Hang on, I'll have a look. So I've got your message up. I think it is Abby, so ABI_Lewis XOX.
Thank you.
So Abby Lewis, if anybody would like to follow you. Okie dokie. Well, it was really nice to chat to you, and it was really good to hear just a little bit more about you and your life, and we should definitely keep in contact.
Yeah, thank you for having me.